right, everybody. We are live, doing our live chat. It's 11 o'clock Eastern, Wednesday morning. Let's see if people will log in. Give it a few minutes here. Excuse me. Welcome to the live stream. Live chat is open discussion. Doing a fundraiser here. Just give me a second. I'm going to put some links in here. Yeah. All right. We got some links here. Let's see. Bear with me here, guys. All right. Just waiting for people to log in. What else we got here? See if anybody joins. I know it's close to midday. Probably everybody's at work. See if anybody joins. Hello. Hey. Coils provides the it provides the electrical power for the spark plugs in the engine. So if that coil goes, then we lose electrical power. Just doing a live stream right now. Yeah. All right. I checked EI, so they're processing my application, but they haven't posted my ROE from my work yet, so they're probably waiting for that. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, I had a phone call there. Live chat is open. Questions, comments. Just gotta wait for people to log in. See if that happens. Hopefully somebody will log in. here. Nobody's logging in. Which I kind of figure most people are probably at work. Welcome to the live chat. We are live here Wednesday. It's about 12 minutes past 11 Eastern Standard Time. Doing my live stream. Also doing a fundraiser, as I've might have stated in one of my last videos that I'm on layoff again, so I'm out of work, temporary layoff, which really sucks. Customers don't want to pay, so they let pretty much half, 3/4 of the shop go. Yeah, questions, comments in the live chat. Hopefully, we'll get somebody to log in here soon. If not, we'll end the stream and do it later in the day. It doesn't look like anybody's going to come in here. Let's try. Watching myself here. Watching myself here. Watching myself here. Watching myself here. Okay. Do we actually have somebody online here? Okay. If you're listening to me, just give me a quick little hello, and the live chat's open. You can do that. See, got a couple people there. I got my links in the live chat for my Patreon on my PayPal. I'm on temporary layoff from work, so I've been out of work from basically January 4th. I got laid off like 2 days after I went back to work. Customers don't want to pay, and we got all these open contracts right now, and we got the jobs sitting on the floor, and nobody's doing it because nobody wants to pay. So, taking questions, comments. And yeah, so any questions, comments about my projects, the Renegade device. Actually, been looking into a couple of things lately. I'd like to talk about those. Pyramid power is one of them. And the second one was I heard a really good interview with um, what's his name, Jay Widener last night. A really good interview about the Moxie nuclear reactor that you could actually build at home. And Martin Fleischman and um, the other guy, the French guy, forget his name, sorry. They built the cold fusion reactor back in the 80s and early 90s and had that whole cold fusion scenario. Well, it turned out in the interview, the guy revealed something interesting about the reactor that they made. Is pretty much what the Moxie nuclear reactor is. And the reason why those two are no longer alive, it turns out that they're reactor was giving off a huge amount of X-rays, which they did not know. So they were getting blasted with lethal amounts of X-rays over the years working with this generator, and both of them have died of cancer. So yeah, basically went over how the reactor works and some of the effects of that reactor, and you could actually build this reactor yourself. It is not that hard to build, but you do have to take precautions. You have to shield it from X-rays, so you would have to build basically a lead box that you would put the reactor in while you're operating it, because it does give off X-rays. And apparently, Stanley Meyer's motor worked on a similar principle, that everybody did not know that Stanley Meyer's water car was running on heavy water. And the heavy water was creating this nuclear reaction in the special spark plugs he was designing, actually in the cylinder of the engine. That's why he was getting over Unity. And I did not know that until last night. That was kind of mind blowing. So that's why the government actually seized one of his core designs as national security, because they realized this guy was creating a nuclear reaction inside his motor. Now, one of the effects of the MOXIE reactor is you can actually transmutate precious metals in this device: platinum, palladium, gold, silver, and stuff like that. So that was mind blowing. Live chat's open. I've also been looking into another device that I actually kind of touched base with a little while ago: pyramid power. So I've been researching. One of the guys that actually got me into it, or at least informed me about it, was a gentleman by the name of Les Brown. And basically showed how to create this reactor. I do have a video in my video section of Faraday Research of my pyramid experiment. And I was off of, it stood about, I guess, it's about 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, um, in a pyramid shape. Um, I'll talk about the materials used in a second, because that's very important. So it was a 2 foot, basically, pyramid, and I was generating up to 22 volts just by hanging a coil from the peak, putting a plate at the bottom. I actually know the actual design that Les Brown used. And when he connected to two connections from the ground to the mast, or the top of the pyramid, it basically got electrocuted to the point where he was thrown 20 feet away from the center of the pyramid. Now, his pyramid was 30 feet tall. It was actually a building. So it's 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet. So you can imagine the scale. So, needless to say, he got the shock of his life, blew him 20 feet from the coil at the bottom, the grounding coil. And I believe him. I believe that this actually happened. It is not a tall tale. I was able to generate 25 volts with my 2 foot pyramid. So it's 2 feet wide. Well, I would say a foot and a half. Yeah, about a foot and a half by a foot and a half tall by a foot and a half deep. That was the pyramid. And I hung a wire with a coil on it. And that coil went down to a grounding plate, which the way I did it was different than Les Brown. I'll explain his in a minute. And a grounding plate, and then from the grounding plate went to the one lead of my meter, and went through my body, out the meter, and I grounded myself to a piece of plastic. And the differential of power from the top of the pyramid to the meter, or my hand on a plastic plate, I got 22 volts of AC power. Today, guys, thanks for joining me. I know it's midday. Well, it's 11, 20 after 11 Eastern Standard Time. It's Wednesday morning. I got my links in the live chat there for my Patreon and PayPal. Just let everybody know January 4th, I was put on temporary layoff. Customers don't want to pay, so we have a whole bunch of work with Magna and Toyota and Honda and Motoman, all these companies. They don't want to pay. So basically, 3/4 of the shop was thrown out on temporary layoff. So I'm officially out of work. I'm applied for EI, employment insurance, and I'm waiting for that crap to go through. And so I'm taking the extra time to go online with people, share my ideas, promote my site. I have a PayPal donate there in the live chat. Also, I got my Patreon account there, which gives you a little bit more incentives. It gives you all the schematics that I make. It's all posted in the Patreon. Some exclusive videos that you won't see on YouTube are in my Patreon. So it's a good resource. I do touch base on a lot of projects, but the last year I've been focusing on the Renegade device. So yeah, I'm here. I'm available right now. I got all the time in the world right now. Wife and daughter are at school and work. And yeah, so shoot me a question or two. I got the live chat open right now. Um, Also, if you're interested in helping me out a little bit, even it's a couple bucks, just click on the PayPal link there. It's in the live chat. My PayPal donate and chip me a couple bucks to kind of like get through this stupid layoff that I'm have to deal with now. So that's stressful all on its own. But in the same time, I want to continue with you guys and help everybody out with their projects or give them ideas or help them develop their ideas into something that's tangible. Uh, the live chat's open, so the floor is yours, guys. What you want me to talk about, I can get into more. Um, I believe I'm doing a show tonight with Frankie. Um, when I get more details about that show, I will be posting that um, on the Faraday Research uh, YouTube channel. And I'm also on Instagram, Faraday 369. Um, uh, hey, Eric, how's it going? You had a question there. I can't see it now. Oh, it's retracted. Okay. All questions, comments are welcome. Live chat's open. Don't be afraid. I'm here to help. I can talk about my Renegade device. Got a few people logged in right now. That's appreciated. Thanks a lot for joining us. If you like the live stream, give me a thumbs up. Don't worry, Eric. Ask the question if you want. I know you pulled it back, but if you guys want to talk about over Unity or yeah, the Tesla one wire system. Yeah, okay, yeah, it works, especially with pulse motors and stuff. So now you can extract power off the pulse motor without killing the dipole, and I think that's the most important thing. Working with pulse motor because people will hook it up to a light or a battery source or whatever. Um, Yeah, you don't get the effects with the MOSFETs. I always have gone back to the spark gap switch. It's something with the disruptive discharge release, and that's creating um, the zero resistance or the zero current draw from the system. MOSFETs don't do it. I've done it with an SSR. It does work to a point. I'm still trying to perfect the SSR. There is a little bit of hope maybe with that. But right now I'm using the automotive relay switch. I bend one of the armatures in to make it actually fire faster. Um, yeah, going back to the one wire system, I apologize. Yeah, that's the only way you can extract power off a pulse motor without killing the dipole. And it's the only way to do it right now that I have found out. Now, if you use the Tesla one wire system, the great part about it is if you pull it off, um, put it through a coil, then you put it through a full wave bridge rectifier, put it through a capacitor, and then after the capacitor, put it through another full wave bridge rectifier, and then you can pump that power right back into the battery. That has broken the symmetry and it'll allow you to run your pulse motor without shorting it out. So I have that circuit diagram in my Patreon. So anybody listening right now that doesn't understand what I'm talking about, sign up with my Patreon as a member and you can get that schematic inside there. I will not post it on my YouTube channel. It's not worth it for me to do it. So, and also it's all over the web. You can find that schematic online, anyways. But what I'm saying is the way I do it in my system, that schematic is in my Patreon. It is kind of an open, it leaves it as an open circuit, but you're extracting power off the circuit without killing the dipole. Dipole is meaning it's killing the reaction. Okay, the reaction that's happening, it's an implosive inductive reactance in the coil. So, therefore, the battery is creating voltage pressure, and that voltage pressure is making the reaction happen. You don't need current. So, my system is a current free potential. So, I've run those two batteries. It's staying at 25 volts. I've been running it for about a month, and it doesn't die off. Hey, Gerald, how's it going? I'm just doing a live chat with everybody. Gerald's online with us. He's another inventor, and he's been doing some pretty incredible stuff too. Gerald, you can put your link in the live chat. Uh, put your link in the live chat, Gerald, uh, so everybody can check your site out and show your coil experiments. This guy, if anybody knows a coil and how induction works in a coil, this guy is the guy. He does electroculture. He's got an electrical generator that uses um, alternators and an electric motor from those treadmills. He's done some really incredible stuffs. Well worth checking out his YouTube channel. And yeah, so let's carry on with discussion. My Renegade is pretty much the batteries don't wear out. I've done testing all this week over the weekend. I cannot kill the battery. It won't die. And after I shut the motor off, uh, I leave it for a few hours. I go back. The batteries are right back to the exact same starting voltage when I started using the motor previously. So the battery, it's a potential free, um, or sorry, it's a current free system. It runs off the voltage pressure. The voltage creates pressure in the system. That pressure I utilize to make real power. It starts off as reactive power. Then I transform it, rectify it, dump it into a capacitor, which makes it into real power. And then from there, you can do anything you want with it. And I utilize that system with the Tesla one wire system. So definitely, uh, I tried troubleshooting everything, trying to tweak this and tweak that. I'm still getting the same results. The batteries don't die. I cannot get the batteries under 20. I think it was 24.9 volts was the lowest. I pulled the battery down, and then after that, I shut it off, or I loop the battery or loop the connection back to the battery, and then it goes right back past 25 volts. So, and it's been like this for a month. So I haven't been able to kill those batteries. They're exactly they were the day I gave them a slow charge with a conventional charger, and they're not dying. The batteries will not die. I can charge capacitors all day long with the system. The batteries don't die. So if the batteries aren't dying, something is incredible is going on in that device. So it's uh, uh, implosive inductive reactance. And that's what's happening in the coil. And because of that, because of the super high, fast, efficient switching that I'm doing with the device, it's basically a current free potential. Oh, reefers here. Uh, Well, no, nothing's happening because you use the Tesla one wire system. It's not killing the dipole because you're only tapping off one wire that's coming off the output of the Renegade. The Renegade has two wires coming out, and that's two wires that are pulsed DC, which can mimic a AC or cheap man's AC, right? So yeah, mechanical switching. If you use the what do you call the not a reed switch, but you're going to use a 3D printer proximity sensor that picks up the change in the magnetic field, and every time that pulses, it's giving a very fast pulse. Um, no, the batteries drop very minimal, like to the point where I can charge several capacitors, run it for several hours. Okay, and I'm going to shut off the motor and come back to it an hour later. The batteries are back up to full power again because it's a current free potential. Yeah, the switching is everything, everything. And it has to be a disruptive discharge. It has to be an actual make and break where an arc is actually formed in that break. I call it the elastic effect. You know, when you take an elastic, you stretch it out, and then when what happens is you release one side and that elastic slams back and hits your hand. Okay, that's what's happened to the coil. That elastic potential of the power coming from the batteries is now slapping into the coil. There's a reaction there. It's throwing it into the coil. Now, when you release it like that, it also releases the current. So the current is released. There's no current in the motor. If I was drawing current off that battery, that battery would have been dead. I would have had to have recharged it. I've been running it for a month now since the last conventional charge I've done on those batteries. They do not. Uh, the proximity sensors, they're fast. They're within what is it? You can find it online. I was actually looking up that the other day, how fast a proximity sensor. It's within 50 nanoseconds. It's fast. It's actually faster than I thought it was. So I'm getting a super fast switching. The switching is number one. You don't have super fast switching with a disruptive discharge release, an actual mechanical release. You will not get the effects that I'm getting. You cannot do it with a MOSFET. You cannot get it. The closest I've been to a solid state to get the same effect that I was getting with the make and break switch is the SSR, solid state relay. Uh, Well, PWM is using. You got to understand. PWMs are using MOSFETs. You cannot do it with MOSFETs. MOSFETs do not work. I have to preach this over and over and over again. MOSFETs do not work. Well, if you think it works, stay with it. I'm telling you what I know. I've been doing this for 10 years, working on this stuff. Um, I've always gone back to the make and break disruptive discharge because that's the only effective way that I have found to release the current potential. So my system is a current potential free system. It doesn't draw the current off the battery. Now, the bigger battery banks you get, the more insignificant the draw that you do draw, if any at all, affects the batteries. Okay, and you know what? I'm not going to get into a fight with anybody on this. If you don't believe me, that's fine. I really don't care. Go with what you feel is right. I'm telling you what I know. I've been running that motor on and off for like the last month, and the batteries will not die. And I've charged capacitors after capacitors after capacitors, and those batteries don't die. They're not dying. So either I'm crazy or I know something. You know what I mean? So take it for a grain of salt. If some guys out there don't believe me, that's your prerogative. I really don't care. I'm just sharing what I know, and that's it. Period. It's a free world. You believe what you want to believe. But my experience, that's it. Yeah, we're all crazy, but hey, I know what works. I've been working with it for so friggin' long. I've tested pretty much every switching device out there, and the closest switch out there, other than a MOSFET that comes anywhere close to doing what my system does, is an SSR, a high speed solid state uh, relay. And I've been able to get those to trigger incredibly fast. With my system, you have to use one that can handle 100 amps or better. Anything under that, you will fry the SSR. And I actually kind of proved what I did. I fried three of them in the last month, not realizing that the relays that or the solid SSRs that I did purchase were only 25 amps. I fried every single one of them. So as soon as I went back to the 100 amp, they didn't fry anymore. So obviously there is some bit of a disruptive discharge happening within the SSR relay um, to cause that to actually fry. So I went back to the 100 amp, and I haven't fried one yet. So refer. Well, high peak current. Well, number one, if you're using MOSFETs or whatever, you have to get the proper rating. Okay, you have to understand too, the meters that we're using will not pick up the actual true negative spikes that are happening in it. Like if you take a regular voltmeter and you try to take proper measurement of my Renegade device, it doesn't do it. The only device that I know that comes anywhere close to giving me proper readings of voltage is a high quality oscilloscope. That's where you're going to see the real voltage spikes in the oscilloscope readings. Um, yeah, you have to use a scope because the type of power that I'm creating here, because it's a disruptive discharge and it's reactive power in the beginning of the device, it doesn't become real power until it goes through the Tesla one wire circuit and I dump it into capacitors then it becomes real power again. So that's very important. Yeah. The only way you get proper reading on any of this stuff that I'm talking about is on an oscilloscope, a high quality oscilloscope. I was on my big Renegade device, the large one that runs off 50 volts. My peak back EMF spikes um, were hitting about 764 volts, and I was putting in less than a watt. So my back spikes were massive, like huge. And I was doing that with an automotive relay switch, and it's not frying the switch. So the automotive relay switch is super amazing, and it can handle a huge transient spike going through it. But like, go back to the switching again. The switching is critical. If that switching is not right, you will fry a switch, because you got to get that radiant spike. The radiant spike will not destroy your switch. If you get a spark coming out that's not a pure back EMF high voltage spike, it it will destroy the switch. It has to be that greenish blue color of a spike. Trying to Ezekiel. I'm trying to read that word. Uh, yeah, it's a high frequency potential that's coming out too. That's part of the reason why a scope is the only way you can actually get somewhat of an accurate reading. Um, yeah, it's a combination of the right recipe. If you don't have the right recipe of stuff, what's happening in my motor won't happen, and it's very easy to actually go off on that formula. And if you don't, you'll lose power. You'll start draining power out of the battery. Very, very easy. Uh, yeah, it is exciting stuff. See, when I first got into it 20 plus years ago, I didn't know anything about electronics at all. It wasn't until about 10 years ago I really got into it and started working on, the Renegade device. Well, I didn't even call it the Renegade. It was a pulse motor, and I did everything that everybody else was doing. And then one day I decided, I wonder if this automotive relay switch would work. So I tried it out and it worked. And then I got some interesting effects. I started noticing my batteries weren't wearing out. And in those beginning days, I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't wasn't able to interpolate what was actually going on. But I kept a record of everything. So now that I know a lot more now than I did 10 years ago, and basically I had the right sauce right at the beginning. And then I found out the piezo transducers actually enhanced the system by 30 to 50% output when I hooked it up. That was a big discovery. I did that discovery 2 years ago, and still nobody online is using a piezo transducer in their pulse motors. And I've been out for how long, and nobody's using these? Like, like it is night and day between using a piezo transducer in your pulse motor and not using it. It's night and day, completely friggin' different. Uh, Air cores are fine. Air cores are fine, but you got to get into the high voltage. If you're going in, yeah, 99%. By phone, yeah, yeah. Try the air cores, but the air cores you got to use a lot more voltage input. If I was working with an air core right now, I would be putting into the system 50 volts, no less. And that's what makes my system actually work even better. Higher voltage. Um, Yeah, try a coreless core. Make them yourself. 24 gauge wire. Um, my Renegade has 2.2 pounds of copper wire. So the bigger inductor, biggest influences in this motor is Robert Adams, um, Paul Babcock's system. Um, what's his name? Joseph Newman. All these principles in their motors is what's going on in my motor. So ferrite now cores you can experiment with. Low carbon steel. That is number one. If you're going to use a steel core, use a low carbon steel. Um, I've seen people use the iron wire for florists. Apparently, that's a soft steel that works well as well. A lot of people think making cores actually solid. You could actually make them tubular, so the center of it's hollow completely, and basically make it like a tube. They work really, really good too. They get a really fast collapse of the field. You might want to try that using a tube. If you can find steel tubes that are soft steel, very low carbon, and cut those as a core. John Bendini was using that. Pure iron, again, it all depends on how much carbon's in it. Carbon is what holds the electromagnetic field in that metal. The less carbon in it, the better. So if you're going to use another good source is number 7 bird shot, the actual, the shots that you buy for hunting. You can buy them in, I think, like pails like that big, number 7 bird shot, and then you can use that as a core material. That's an amazing one as well. Um, yeah, the chrome ray converter, that's another one too. Yeah, core materials, very, all these, it's part of the recipe, right? You got to have the right stuff in these motors to make it work. And definitely materials is, yes. Uh, I haven't built the chrome ray converter, haven't done that one. I just have, I've been focused on the Renegade for the last few years now. So I've been working on that. I've been experimenting with a lot of stuff on the side that I haven't really showed on the YouTube channel. Um, yeah, stay away from getting materials from China because they're not pure. They say they're pure, they're not. Get If you get materials and you need it to be 99.99% pure, you can only get that stuff that's made in North America. You will not get it from China. Um, yeah, so yeah, going back to switching, switching is definitely number one. You have to have a proper switching mechanism. I use the 3D printer proximity sensor and the 12-volt automotive relay switch. Well, if yeah, it will have a continuous energy flow through it if you set it up like my device, because I got reactive power going in it. The reactive power will allow it to collapse to a point, but it's still staying in the coil. It's keeping the coil saturated still. So when the next pulse comes in, it's already halfway there. So uh, yeah, and you know what? You're going to pay a little bit more for the good stuff, but I'd rather pay the extra buck or two or what it is you're buying to get better material. Wire combinations, I've been staying with 24 gauge. You could go to 26 gauge if you wanted to, but it seems like 24 is 25 gauge. That's in the sweet spot for wiring. Um, there's so many different coil designs out there, it's ridiculous. But the best core material is a low carbon steel. and not a solid piece, make it like a tube. And I've been trying to find that material now. It's a lot harder than I thought. Uh, yeah, 24 gauge I find is seems to be the best. Yeah, definitely 24 gauge. It's not too small, not too big. It's easy to work with. It makes pretty decent core windings. Um, they don't short out as bad as the smaller ones do. I stick with very large coils, 1 pound or larger. Tesla always went by mass weight. Uh, some people go by the length of the wire. I've always gone by mass weight. You would think it is electrostatic system. I believe, yeah, it is because I got the transducers in there, which is actually creating electrostatic type potential. So yeah, it's very possible. I think it is very much so an electrostatic type potential. But to make it into real power, to bring electrostatic power into real power, you have to put it first through a coil, then through a bridge rectifier, dump it into a capacitor, and then put it through another rectifier, and then you got your real power. So that's the best way I know of changing the symmetry of electrostatic power into real power. So if you want to do the Tesla's radiant energy collector, you would use that same principle. And actually, if you look at his patent, it is the Tesla one wire system. So it's right there. It's right in front of you. It's one wire going straight down into the earth, and then you tap off that one wire, which would either go to um, a disruptor switch, which he was talking about. Like me, I would use my um, automotive relay switch, and then from there you can put it through a coil, and then you can amplify the power, dump it into a capacitor bank, rectify it, and then you got real power. And I did it. I actually, one of my last videos I did using, well, the power source, I was using my plasma ball, and I took that potential one wire going through to a ground and then tapping off the one wire system and dumping it into a capacitor and rectifying it and making it into real power and charging up a capacitor bank. So, well, it's the Tesla radiant energy collector. It's the easiest thing in the world to make if you have the resource to make a giant loop antenna. If you have the resource to make a giant loop antenna outside in your yard, yeah, you can do it very easily. So, yeah, I'll look into your yeah, I'll look into your chat community there. I'll look into that. Any other questions related to what I've been doing? I've been kind of toying with the idea of working on another pyramid experiment. I found out the best pyramids are to be made out of PVC, not copper. Copper does not give you the potential difference from the top of the pyramid to the ground. So best material that I know of right now, there probably is better, would be a PVC piping to make a pyramid. I've been looking into what Les Brown was doing back in the 70s and 80s. And to make his circuit, again, his circuit is a Tesla one wire system. And it shocked him so bad, it threw him 20 feet away from his coil. So, again, Tesla one wire system. It's actually a Tesla radiant energy generator, but it's using the pyramid as the actual apparatus to hold or collect the potential at the top. So for every meter you go up, you're getting 120 volts differential from the top of the pyramid to the ground. So for every meter, it's 120 volts. Mine was like a foot off the ground, yeah, about a foot off the ground. I was getting anywhere from 22 to 25 volts. Um, Howard Johnson, yeah, his stuff is great too, but a lot of his stuff wasn't published. There wasn't enough detail on his magnet arrangements. He did have patents. Obviously, he died in 2016, I think, somewhere around there, or somewhere around 2016. He died, maybe a little bit sooner. Um, but yeah, yeah, supposedly had the magnet motor that basically just worked off of magnets. There was no power input. So yeah, the thing with Howard Johnson stuff, you got to have access to a lot of magnets, like a lot. The Kawhi engine was another one that got suppressed. That's in the Energy from the Vacuum series. They talk about the Kawhi engine. It was made in Japan, and the government seized it in Japan, and they tried to get a patent in the U.S. And then it got seized again in the U.S., which Tom Bearden was actually at the table when that happened. That's another motor kind of based off the Howard Johnson concept, but a little bit different. But Bendini actually made a model of the Kawhi engine, and it did work really well. And it was a COP of 1.5 or something like that, 1.8. Well, the way I see it, if there's a device out there that I like and I want to approve or try to disprove it, I'll build it. So I built the pyramid one. I thought was the most craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. But after I built it and got the results I did, which I wasn't expecting at all, I was trying to break down exactly what I was looking at. And I was looking at the Tesla Radiant Energy device. It works on the same concept. It's no different. Instead of just having a wire going up to a dipole, they had the pyramid. And the pyramid is basically the structure that holds or collects the potential at the top. Yeah, experiment, man. Go on the bench and build it. If you want to try to prove or disprove it, build it. Build it to exactly the way the guy that designed it built it, and then try to prove or disprove it. That's it. That's all you got to do. I know what's real and I know what's not real because I probably have tried it if I was a skeptic enough. So, like the results that I'm getting on the Renegade now, that it's a current free potential, I never really expected that 7 foot pyramid. Right on. See, Gerard made a 7 foot pyramid. Um, wow. It transmutated lead into powder? Really? I never heard that before. Cool. That's really, really interesting. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Do you still have that set up, Gerald? The pyramid? I'd love to see that. Holy cow, that's awesome. Did you ever put plants inside the pyramid? Did it help grow plants? Yeah, I would try growing plants inside the pyramid. Apparently, it works good. What's your pyramid made of, Gerald? What material did you use to make the pyramid? They're saying PVC is any plastic is the best. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't share stuff. Uh, wow, 99%. Cool. Wow. Uh, oh, okay. So they're probably graphite poles that were from the tent. Graphite would make a very good material for making a pyramid. Yeah. Anything that's a dielectric, people make them out of copper. That's wrong. You got to stay away from copper. You got to use something as dielectric, PVC pipe, graphite poles, stuff like that. They make the best pyramids. Yeah, yeah, fiberglass. Uh, Fiberglass is great. No, I've seen all the transmutation stuff that Bendini did, um, transmutating gold. I believe he was using an iron oxide powder, the red powder. I think that's what the powder was. It was an iron oxide. It's red. It looks really red. Yeah, the only thing with the transmutation stuff, you have to have access to a high temperature oven, right? I know. It's like my piezo's. Nobody pays attention. Like your coils. Some people see it, but they don't do anything with it. They don't. They're not paying attention. Same with my piezo's. The piezo's make a giant difference in my power system. Huge difference. It's up to people to do it. I think it boils down to people are just flat out stubborn. Uh, they don't want to face the fact that somebody else came up with an idea that actually works. Automatically they're a skeptic because they don't try it. Why try it out first and then be a skeptic? Try that first. You try it out and do it. If it doesn't work, then you have the right to be a skeptic. Yeah, don't be abusive. Everybody has their thing. If they don't want to believe what you're saying, you know what? They're not going to believe you in the end anyway. So it's up to them to really see the light. So why bang your head against a table for nothing? If somebody's stubborn and they don't want to see what you've accomplished, or at least try to attempt to replicate what you have, then it wasn't meant to be for them to have that at their arsenal, anyways, right? Let them go their own way. If they think they know better, let them go their own way. If you want to be part of the community and take ideas in and try other people's ideas to see if they do have something that is totally tangible, you know, then you have no right whatsoever. If you haven't replicated something else that somebody else has done and it didn't work, then you have no right in the world to try to belittle that person of their findings until you know if it's real or not. See, everybody, doesn't use the piezo's that I've been telling everybody to do, and 98% of them say, "Oh no, it wouldn't make a difference." Well, have you done it? Have you actually done it? If you haven't done it, then you have no right to, uh, uh, you know, say otherwise because you haven't tried it. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. You can only bang your head against the table so long. I don't do that anymore. If you think I'm wrong, okay, that's fine. You do your own thing, and that's it. I let people be. I don't get into arguments anymore. I really don't give a crap. If you think I'm BSing you, fine. I'm BSing, whatever. I don't care. I know what I know, and I know because I've tested it extensively. Everything on my channel up to this point, I've tested extensively, especially in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, yeah, people like to, um, steal other people's ideas and say they did it. And the funny part is, I don't, there's thousands of pulse motor videos online, and I don't see anybody using the piezo's because they don't believe that the piezo's have any relevance to the motor, or they're completely fucking blind. Yeah, there's tons of trolls out there. That's pretty obvious. Yeah, I'm yeah. You have to play with the barium titanate transducers. You can buy them on Amazon. As long as they're barium titanate, you can't go wrong. The second you hook it up, you're going to see your circuit go from this to this. It's going to be that big. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah, it'll be somewhat stable coming off the rectifier DC power, but like I said before, there's some other kind of weird element to this power that's coming off it that putting it on an oscilloscope, you're going to get way more accurate readings. Like the voltmeters to me are almost totally friggin' useless. It's I don't know. It's the type. It has to do with the frequency, the type of power that's coming off that I'm making. There's some other element to it that a regular voltmeter will not give me. What I can actually see on a scope, the scope will really show me the peak high voltage that's coming off. Yeah, people don't know. Yeah, what people think is energy, they don't know. When you've been playing with this stuff as long as Gerald and myself, uh, yeah, we know because there are some pretty interesting effects that we really can't talk about online. We've talked about it offline, and yeah, there's definitely something else there that we definitely cannot talk online about because it's a little bit dangerous to talk about that. I don't want to get the channel yanked or get shadow banned worse than I've already been shadow banned. Yeah, scientists always beat around the bush. They've done it with electricity for the past 100 years. The last real electrical engineering was actually done by Charles Proteus Steinmetz. And after him, the electrical engineering as we know it died. It ceased to exist. Yeah, no, it makes a good discussion for sure. But like what Gerald and I have experienced with power, when what we've done, some of our stuff that we've done offline that we haven't shared, other than me and him, uh, there's obviously stuff that are happening in that energy that, yeah, is unexplainable. Some of it is explainable, so some of it's not. Oh yeah, it would totally change physics completely as we know it. Completely. I made the discovery about a year ago, actually 2 years ago, and when I made that discovery, what energy really is, it rocked my world to the point where I almost had a mental breakdown. So yeah, uh, just trying to read back some of these comments here. Yeah, that's definitely true, Gerald. Like my secret sauce is pretty much out there. I've been pretty much open source with a lot of the stuff I've been doing, and nobody's doing it. I don't know why. I can't understand. It's like a mind virus that people have, trying my circuit out. I haven't seen. I I can't say haven't seen any. I've seen one guy, one in like 10 years, use the same spark gap switch I was using. Yeah, you need the snowball effect. Well, it's part of the reactance. It's what's happening inside the coil. The coil is creating a reactance, and that reactance keeps, I guess you could say, the coil puffed up with potential. So when the collapse actually does happen, the coil is still saturated. And I think that's the key with the implosive inductive reactance. Yeah, I don't blame you. A lot of people out there like to steal ideas and say it's their own. I just kind of focus on my own stuff because I know there's always some other rabbit hole I'm going to jump down that's going to improve my system. Usually I'll go through these times where I get my project to a point and I'm going here and I'm not making any advances on it, but sooner or later I'm going to find that new rabbit hole to jump down, and it actually makes me go further with my project. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. If you're going to take it and use it, at least give us credit for the discoveries that we made. You know, Obviously, what Gerald and me are doing, you know, we're not after to make $5 million off this. You know, if anything, we just want to be known to the community that we were the ones who came up with these ideas, and give us credit where credit is due. So it's, like most of my stuff I've got out there right now is all open source. I'm not hiding anything. Anyways, guys, I have to head out here. I'm gonna stop the live stream. I might be doing another live stream tonight with Frankie. Um, yeah, we'll do that tonight. If I do, I'm gonna try to get it posted on my YouTube channel. Gerald, thanks a lot for joining the live chat. Everybody here, Reefer and um, who else do we have there? Wind Power and more. Thanks for joining the live stream. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like to see your experiments on Friday. Yeah, I'll be doing my live show Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. Just click on the live tab of my YouTube channel, and the link will be posted there for the show. And yeah, we'll see everybody soon. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Take care.